Welcome back to the deep dive. You know that feeling, right? The calendar flips to a major holiday, the lights go up, you hear that music,
Hmm.
and instead of that, that automatic burst of joy, there's just this low hum.
A complicated feeling.
Yeah, the festive season can feel like this psychological pressure cooker. It just amplifies feelings of loneliness, especially if you're navigating it single. We call it the holiday blues, but it feels a lot deeper than that.
It's a genuine ache, and it's
Yeah.
so critical we validate that right at the start. Feeling lonely during a holiday is a completely normal reaction to some really profound cultural pressure.
It's not a personal failing.
Absolutely not. And
Mhm.
that feeling is what we've been digging into. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. First, we analyze the hard psychology behind why loneliness peaks during festivals, and then we pivot. We get into concrete, actionable strategies.
Huh.
The goal is to help you shift from that isolating, passive solitude into something like a powerful, active enjoyment.
I love that. So let's unpack this. We have some fascinating insights into the cognitive traps, the why, and then some genuinely surprising practical steps. We're talking everything from setting a digital boundary to just talking to your barista.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
So where do we start with this pressure cooker?
Well, the first thing to internalize is that this feeling, it isn't just you, it's a systemic and cultural phenomenon. And it's really driven by three core forces. The first, and maybe the most damaging in the modern world, is social comparison theory.
Right, which is why opening Instagram on Christmas Eve can suddenly feel like, I don't know, walking across broken glass.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're just inundated with this visual assault.
Mm.
The media, ads, every social platform you check is just saturated with what one source called a standardized template of happiness.
The template.
Yeah, it's not just family reunions, it's these curated holiday backdrops, luxury gifts, people showing off affection. It creates this impossibly high and frankly, often fictional benchmark for joy.
And the immediate cognitive damage from that is the comparison, right?
Mm.
A single person sees their quiet reality next to this super filtered template. And it's so easy to label your own status as a missing piece.
The deficit.
Yeah, a deficit.
Right.
Suddenly, being single isn't just a neutral life stage. It's reframed as this profound sense of lack, a gap that you urgently need to fill.
And that feeling gets hugely magnified by the second factor, cultural pressure. This is especially intense in, more collectivist cultures.
Like the emphasis on the family reunion ideal we see in many Asian cultures.
Exactly. That idea of mogi is a powerful cultural script. It requires you to be part of a unit.
So holidays like Spring Festival or even Valentine's Day, they start being just celebrations.
They become a kind of performance review.
Wow, yeah. And single people can feel so marginalized, often facing really invasive questions from relatives.
Which can lead you to seriously question your own self-worth. You start asking, why am I failing at this? What's wrong with me?
It creates this immense pressure.
It does. And this brings us to the third reason, which is where the science gets really, really interesting. It's the lack of ritual and social pain.
Okay, tell us about the neurological layer here.
Yeah.
Because this is where the feeling stops being just, emotional and starts feeling physically real.
Because it is physically real. Humans are social creatures, right? And festive rituals, shared meals, gift exchanges, all those little traditions, they reinforce our social bonds.
Mm.
When you miss out on those, you're deprived of that feedback of being needed or being supported, eating alone on a big holiday, or worse, being sick with no one to bring you a glass of water.
That absence of support triggers what psychologists call social pain.
Exactly. And here's the wild part. The research shows this social distress activates the very same neural networks in the brain that respond to physical injury.
You're kidding.
No, specifically the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. So when you feel excluded or alone, it's not just a fleeting emotion. Your brain is literally registering it as a physical wound. It feels like a bruise because the same machinery is being used.
That validates so much, that deep ache. It's real.
It's absolutely real.
Okay, so if the pain is validated and real, we need some real tools to rewrite that script. The goal here is to move from that painful passive solitude to, what did you call it?
Intentional, restorative, active enjoyment.
I love that. It's about building a personal celebration script that is completely non-dependent on anyone else.
And that has to start internally. You have to redefine your own personal sense of ritual. Instead of mourning the loss of the shared rituals, you proactively create exclusive rituals just for you.
Things you do because you're single, not in spite of it.
Precisely.
So like turning necessity into a luxury. I love the idea from the sources about pre-booking a really top-tier, hard-to-get dinner for yourself.
Yes. It's more than just eating alone, isn't it? It's about consciously choosing to treat yourself like a VIP. It's a whole ritual of it. You're savoring the meal, focusing on the textures, enjoying the ambiance. You are deliberately rewarding yourself for everything you've accomplished. It transforms sitting alone from a sign of failure into a sign of deserved self-care.
Another great tool for that kind of resilience is the self-care kit. This is like proactive psychological defense.
It's so important for strengthening those self-care muscles. You prepare it before you're feeling down or sick. You have comfort items, medicine, your favorite movies all ready to go.
So if you do get sick while you're alone, you have a plan. You're not scrambling in distress.
Which reaffirms your own capacity to care for yourself. It provides stability right when you feel most vulnerable.
So alongside those actions, we need the right mindset, the psychological strategies. Let's start with the digital detox. I mean, that's where so much of the pain comes from.
It is.
But is that just avoidance? Are we just cutting off the trigger, or are we really addressing the insecurity that makes us compare ourselves?
That's a really fair question. It's not a cure, but it is essential damage control. A detox creates the space you need for the real self-work to happen. You have to get that standardized template of happiness out of your face for a little while to hear your own thoughts.
It's about setting a boundary.
A crucial one. And once you have that space, you can pivot to mindfulness and self-acceptance. The core advice here is to view singlehood not as incompleteness, but as a life stage with incredibly high autonomy.
And that autonomy is a key benefit, right?
It's huge. You have total control over your time, your money, your decisions. And that's why things like solo travel are so popular for stress relief. You're not performing for anyone.
Right, you're not taking pictures for the gam.
Exactly. You're choosing a quiet place, maybe for meditation or just being in nature, focusing purely on your own internal peace. You are intentionally designing your world for contentment, not for comparison.
Okay, so once that internal foundation is a bit stronger, we turn outward.
Yes. Because as we said, loneliness often comes from that lack of feeling needed, of being a recipient. Our analysis shows that the fastest way to get immense psychological compensation is to flip that role.
And become a giver.
Become a giver. You actively flip the script. Instead of waiting for someone to care for you, you proactively care for others. And during the holidays, the most profound way to do that is volunteering.
At shelters, community centers, animal rescues.
Exactly. You build these non-romantic but really deep connections. And most importantly, it immediately restores that feeling of being needed. You see that your presence actually makes a difference.
The sources also mention something specific about proactive contact. Why is it that offering care, like calling an old friend, gives you a bigger happiness boost than just waiting for them to call you?
It's about efficacy and control. When you decide to call a friend, you're taking an action that gets an immediate positive result, that connection. It reinforces your sense of agency.
Whereas waiting puts your happiness in someone else's hands.
Which leads to anxiety and maybe disappointment if the phone doesn't ring. Proactive giving puts you in the driver's seat of your own emotional state.
That makes perfect sense. But I have to say, deep one-on-one social stuff can feel overwhelming when you're already feeling a bit raw.
It really can. And that is where the power of building micro-connections comes in.
Okay.
See, loneliness makes us feel invisible, completely disconnected from the world. But we don't always need intense socializing to fix that. We just need short, positive, daily interactions.
You mean those fleeting but powerful little moments?
Yes. Making eye contact and saying happy holidays to a neighbor, having a genuine 30-second chat with your barista or the delivery person.
Little things.
Tiny things. But they are scientifically shown to reduce loneliness because they restore a basic sense of belonging. They're low-pressure, high-frequency reminders that you are part of the human fabric around you. You are seen.
And for integrating into a crowd without that pressure, there's the idea of an emotional backup network.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be heavy. It could be a holiday refuge with other single friends for a meal. Or just attending public festive events like a market or a concert.
So you're in the atmosphere.
You're part of it. You're surrounded by people, which reduces the isolation, but without the burden of having to perform intense one-on-one socializing.
So really, the big takeaway here is that intentional small actions, whether it's cooking a beautiful meal for yourself or just saying hello to a stranger, can completely break that feeling of being disconnected.
You are actively participating in your own life again.
Which brings us to, I think, the biggest long-term question here. Should you actively seek a romantic partner, or maybe get a pet, specifically to solve this loneliness?
The big one. Let's start with partners. The sources are so clear on this, and it has to be our foundation. It is always quality over status.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means the research is decisive. Single individuals with good mental health are often demonstrably happier than people stuck in terrible relationships.
Because in a bad relationship, the loneliness is actually heavier.
That's so much heavier because you're lonely right next to someone. There's no connection, no understanding.
So the first step is a really brutal self-assessment of your motivation.
You have to ask, is my goal healthy? Am I looking to share my already stable, happy life? Or is it risky? Am I looking for a partner to act as a painkiller for my suffering?
Because if you can't find peace on your own,
A partner cannot fundamentally cure your loneliness. It's an inside job. And this really underpins the whole consciously single trend.
where you're prioritizing your own emotional health and getting your life in order before you even enter the dating market.
Exactly. And when you do search, the trend is moving away from just algorithms, which can feel so performative,
Yeah.
and more toward human interests, connections, friend introductions, specific interest groups, things that allow for more of a come-as-you-are philosophy.
So finding a partner should be for addition, not for remedy.
Addition, not remedy. And honestly, the exact same careful thinking applies to getting a pet.
Right. Pets offer huge, tangible benefits. The science is clear on that.
Oh, absolutely. There's unconditional love, of course, but also the physiological changes. The routine of feeding and walking a dog can be a powerful antidepressant pillar.
And literally petting an animal lowers your cortisol, your stress hormone, and releases oxytocin.
The happiness hormone, they absolutely reduce the static in a lonely house.
But there are risks.
Two major ones. First is the emotional substitution trap,
You treat the pet like a full human replacement.
and you channel all your social needs into them, which can, ironically, make you cut off human contact even more, worsening your loneliness in the long run.
And the second risk is the vulnerability. The grief of losing a pet can be just catastrophic for someone who is solitary and lacks other support.
It can be incredibly heavy, so if you're unsure, there are alternatives. You could volunteer at an animal shelter, visit a pet cafe.
You get that immediate oxytocin rush without the full long-term risk.
Yeah.
This has been such a practical deep dive. To sum it all up, loneliness is a real feeling. It's amplified by comparison and a lack of ritual, but it's manageable.
It's completely manageable through these small, intentional acts of self-care and giving.
And the core principle through all of this seems to be that seeking a companion, whether it's a pet or a partner, should always be for addition.
Not for remedy. Learning to be your own good companion first, filling your own life with richness, that is the prerequisite for attracting any kind of healthy relationship.
The sources called it human-pet symbiosis, where your companion is a motivation to get out and explore the world, not an excuse to hide from it.
It's just about intentional living.
It really is. So here's a final thought for you to consider as you navigate the season. If achieving that deep social connection feels too difficult or just too much right now, how might prioritizing those simple, low-stakes micro-connections, a simple, genuine greeting to a stranger, how might that change your sense of belonging this week?
A great question.
Go give it a try.